The Zero Millage Increase Bond 2022, featured in this program, would not increase the debt millage above the 2021 debt millage rate.
Hello and welcome to another Conversations in the Lansing School District, and I am honored to talk today with Ben Shuldiner, the superintendent. And you're like a veteran now in the school district.
Sure.
And let's just start with, how's it going? I want to talk about a lot of different things, but how's it going?
I mean, it's going well. I mean, certainly you can't not talk about this year and not talk about COVID and talk about the kind of the busing issues. But, you know, I think in spite of that, we've been able to do really well. We've been able to keep schools open, which is really, really important. A lot of face-to-face learning, a lot of kids being able to socialize and interact, and then, of course, get the academic support that they need. So we're really thrilled that this entire year we've been able to stay open except for 1 week right after Christmas. And, you know, so it's been good. And we're doing a ton of new things in the district, which I'm sure we'll get into. But in general, you know, we're happy, we're moving in the right direction, and I'm very, very thrilled to be here.
Well, let's talk about the top thing, the bond
Sure.
that's coming up May 3rd in an election. This is a big deal.
It is.
$130 million, and it's really focused on doing several things, including rebuilding the elementary schools, which is just phenomenal, but also even getting things like air conditioning in every school.
Absolutely.
Talk about how big this is.
Well, look, our children deserve to be in a high-quality environment. And, you know, for anybody that's watching this, you know that it gets hot and it gets 90 degrees, 90% humidity, whatever it is. How could you possibly take a test? How can you possibly focus? And so I know that taxpayers out there are going to say, oh, you know, you got to fix the teachers and fix this. And why should we care about the buildings? Well, because the environment greatly affects the way kids learn. And that's a huge issue. So when we pass this bond, if we do, we're going to be able to have air conditioning in every classroom. That's going to be unbelievably helpful. I mean, there's study after study, and I'm happy to give you a link. There's a great study that came out of Philly that basically showed that on days that were hot without air conditioning, kids' test scores went down. And days that were hot but the school had air conditioning, the test scores were fine.
That's amazing.
It's so clean, right? It's just so clear that we need to make sure that the environment the kids work and spend their time in is good. Now, the other piece of this, of course, is 4 brand new buildings. I love Lansing. I'm super thrilled to be here, but we have to be honest, some of our school buildings are pretty old and they're falling down and they're not in great shape, and we want to make sure that the kids of Lansing get to go to great and wonderful buildings. And so we've picked 4 schools that we think are kind of at end of life, you know, schools that are 50, 60, even 70 years old, and we're going to be able to, if the bond passes, rebuild 4 brand new schools. And I mean, you can see what, Eastern looks like. You can see what Pattongill looks like. Imagine we get 4 more new buildings that are brand new that kids come in. And then the third piece of this bond, which I think is really important, is that we have put probably about $27 million into Everett. We build a brand new building for Eastern. Sexton needs some love. And so we're going to be able to spend multiple millions of dollars really making sure that Sexton gets a lot of love, gets the support, so that we can redo that building so that it will be great for years to come.
Sexton, an auditorium, a lot of ventilation work, and maybe the clock gets fixed.
Maybe. I'd be thrilled. You know, I care about the big stuff and the little stuff, and, you know, it always pains me to drive to Sexton and see the clock not working. But yeah, we're looking at auditoriums, but we're also looking at other things that really make it different. You know, making sure that doorknobs work, making sure that, pointing is there, that the cement is good, that kids have an easy way to get into the building. There's all these great things that we need to do so that kids can walk into whatever school they are in Lansing and go, this is my school, and be prideful of that.
Well, talk about May 3rd, why that became the big date for the bond resolution that will be before voters.
Sure. So one of the great things about timing it the right way is that this would be considered a 0 mil bond, meaning that basically, the taxes don't change because of the fact that we've already had a bond. So it's this wonderful thing where we get to say 0 mil. There's no mil increase because we've had a bond. That'll roll off, and if we get to do it on May 3rd, it just rolls it back on. So that way, nobody's going to see, oh my God, there's this huge tax increase because of the bond or whatever. It's just a 0 mil. We'll be able to take the 130, that comes out of this bond and build 4 brand new schools, air conditioning in every classroom, and love for Sexton.
And you're on a roll with a lot of things, and the bond is part of that.
Absolutely.
And having that on the ballot gives people an opportunity to express themselves, and boy, to have a continuation is so much easier than having to do a November election or something.
Exactly, because if you waited, if we did it in November, if we did it another year, then it doesn't just kind of roll over. It becomes a bigger issue. And so this way we get to say 0 mil. It's a great bond. It's $130 million. It's 4 new schools. It's air conditioning for all classrooms. It's love for Sexton. What more, right? We're thrilled. And to your point about kind of being on a roll, is that this now allows us to be flexible, to be creative, to say, wow, we're going to have these 4 new buildings, and we're going to have programs, and wow, we could have a new auditorium in Sexton, and what does that mean, and how we can increase the arts there. And then, of course, at the end of the day, making sure that the environment in every classroom with that air conditioning, that means a kid can focus, it means a kid can learn, it means a kid in September when it's hot, or May or June when it's hot, they'll be okay, and that's what matters.
Well, and I also want you to talk about security upgrades, because in this post-Oxford school, where it was very close to home and us, security enhancements come along with the bond and other investments.
Yeah, I mean, certainly when you build brand new buildings, you're going to take into account all of the new security ideas and methodologies and ways that you can have, when somebody's coming into the building, be more secure. All of that is certainly going to be part of it. But, the truth is, when it comes to things like safety, what we really need to make sure of is that our kids are comfortable in our schools, that there's a relationship, that there is no need to bring violence to the schools, right? And that, you could have a very strong door, which you need, and you need to have very good ways of getting into buildings or not. But if you don't have that relationship with those children, and you're building a place where people are happy to come and they feel engaged and feel loved, it's going to be hard to deal with the violence issues outside of that.
Well, and you have always said that school is the safest place for our kids. Yeah. Tell people why.
No, it's a great question. So school is the safest place for our kids, even more so during COVID. I mean, what we're finding is that the transmission rates in the school are almost infinitesimal. We're not seeing, okay, one kid's sick and then everybody in the classroom's sick. It doesn't work that way. Sadly, what we're seeing is if a kid gets sick, they're sick at home, mom and dad, so it gets transmitted in the family, it gets transmitted in the community. But, what's great is because we have such wonderful mitigating strategies with masking and distancing and cohorting and all those things, we've actually been able to say, yeah, COVID's real and it's bad and it's hurting us, but we're able to do enough that you're not transmitting in the school. The other reason why school is kind of a safe place for our children is because they're loved there. They're supported there. They can go and talk to another adult. They can go to talk to kids. They have food. They have water. They have education. And let's be honest, our teachers are great. And if they can have that wonderful teacher in every classroom with those children, that's what makes it safe for them. And so, I really firmly believe that our schools are the safest place for our children, because it's a place where they are physically safe, but also emotionally safe and socially safe. And we just need to, and that's why the bond is so important, we need to make it even better so that it's super comfortable as well as safe.
I do want you to talk a little bit about some of the problems you connect with superintendents around the state. Other school districts have problems with people protesting at school board meetings and issues of mask mandates and curriculums, and we just don't seem to have that in the Lansing School District. Not that people don't care, but they accept how we've planned things and how things work.
Yeah, I mean, I hopefully you don't jinx us, but yeah, I mean, I think what really is wonderful about Lansing is the families and the staff and the kids. They seem to understand why we're doing what we're doing. We've been very transparent about it, right? We believe in the masks, and it seems to be working. We want people to be vaccinated because it seems to be working. We do cohorting because it seems to be working. And even some of the the stuff that you're seeing in school districts around the country about books, about curriculum, we've been pretty upfront about what we're doing, and we really look forward to always engaging. And what's been great, if you notice in our last couple of board meetings, more and more community members are coming, which we love. But what are they saying? They're talking about how they can help. They're talking about how we can get better together. And that's what is really quite powerful here. So I'm very happy to see that. Hopefully, look, if there are people that are super angry at us, okay, it's public, great, come on down, we're happy to talk to you. But so far so good in terms of that relationship with the public and the school district.
Two things that you've always addressed at board meetings, busing and a big report recently about our efforts in special education. I want you to talk about those.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that Lansing needs to do better. And what's nice is I think we're finally being honest and open about that. Rather than try to hide things, rather than try to obfuscate things, we're just saying, look, it's a great place to be. You're going to get a lot of love. You're going to get a lot of support, but we need to do better in certain ways. And special ed really was this kind of red flag. When I got here, we're looking at this information and you see, my God, some of these IEPs are a year, 2 years, 3 years old. Some of those documents, some of the expectations of a district, we're just not doing it. And what was great, as you mentioned about the report, is that we've made incredible strides. So just in the 6 months now, 7 months since I started, the special ed department has changed dramatically. We've been able to get, through a backlog of 2 to 3 years of initials, of triennials, of all the kind of the annuals, all the IEP stuff. We're then bringing in extra support so that we can get out in front of extra IEPs and extra things that we need to. We're doing, what's called comp ed. So we're making up all the things that we failed to do during COVID and we failed to do before. So, look, it's taking a lot of time. The Deputy Superintendent, Sergio Keck, and the Director of Special Ed, Eileen Perhoda, have been incredible. And they're really changing the culture, where it's not like, oh, well, this is Lansing, it just won't work, don't worry about it. It's, no, this is Lansing, and everybody deserves to be treated with respect and to get what they need. So the special ed stuff has been really moving in the right direction. Are we there yet? No. But, somebody from NDE said, it was either MDE or ISD, said, we've done more in the 6 months now than they did in 6 years previously. And so that's really powerful. In terms of busing, we're still there. I think the Lizard bus was late yesterday. But, with our relationship with Dean, they're really putting a lot of effort into finding new drivers and us being thoughtful about our routes. But again, the gas cards have been really great. And the relationship with CATA has been really great. So we have over 1,500 families that are getting gas cards. That means they have now this ability to pay for gas to get their kid to school. And we owe that to them. If the buses aren't working, then we need to find a solution, and that's what we're doing. And the truth is, it seems to be going so well that we're happy to continue that. As long as the families want it, we will provide it. And that's true with everything, right? We're, not that you're leading this question, but we've heard from a lot of people around the community that they have questions about having 7th and 8th grade in the high schools. Well, we put out survey data, and more than 75% of folks said, 7th and 8th grade in the high school, maybe you should rethink that. So we're contemplating doing some stuff with that, right? If the families want it and it makes sense, our job is to try to do that, as well as making sure that we're holding ourselves accountable to the academic success of our children, the social and emotional success of our children, all of those things.
I do have to ask you, because it is kind of a state budget time. It
Sure.
looks like we will have even more money invested in education. It must make you feel good.
Yeah, I am thrilled, right? The fact that the state is saying, education really is important and we will find some money for you. It makes me just happy as can be. And what should we use that money for? Getting more wonderful teachers, getting more wonderful, it's not just the classroom teacher. You want an art teacher, you want a music teacher, you want a PE teacher, you want all the people, the reading specialists, all those things that make a school better for children. And so, our issue right now is just finding talent. There is a labor shortage, right? So we've been trying to partner with universities so that those that are graduating this year, we can kind of immediately snatch up so that they can start in September. So certainly anybody watching, if you want to work for the Lansing School District, we don't care what you want to do. You want to be, working in the lunchroom, or you want to be a principal? Hey, if you want to be superintendent, let me know. We just want to make sure that if you want to work with us, we want to work with you. But having more money is just one step, because all the money in the world isn't going to make sure that the education's better, right? We need to make sure that the professional development is there, that the support of the teachers are there, that the systems work. So a lot of the stuff that we're doing that's very behind the scenes that you're not going to necessarily see is, fixing our human resources, software, making sure that we can take correct attendance, making sure that we can do all the little things that then we can go, okay, now let's focus on third grade math.
It sounds like it's going to be a big year, 2022, in the Lansing School District.
Yeah, I really think that this year, the kind of 21-22 year, was about trying to get through COVID, making sure that we could open up safely, making sure we could bring kids back, getting all the things kind of ready to go. And that, what I'm looking forward to in September of 2022 is really getting the district on very sound footing, with a vision, with a mission, with a real clarity as to where we're going to go, not just next year, but, for the years to come. So stay tuned.
Ben Shuldiner, Superintendent, Lansing School District, thank you very much for joining us in this conversations, and we will continue talking with people and having conversations in the Lansing School District.